Welcome to Olivia's Garden. Today I'm excited to share with you 20 of the most beautiful and easy to grow perennials that you only need to plant once and they will grow back year after year. Some of these are gorgeous spring blooming perennials and many of them are long blooming all summer long, and every one of them is growing in my very own garden. Today, I will share everything you need to know so I can help you decide if any of these gorgeous plants are a good choice to add to your own beautiful garden. Let's start with perennials that thrive in full sun. This means they need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight to bloom their best. First on the list is the clematis. The one I'm growing in my garden is called Dr. Ruppel. It is one of the most beautiful perennials in my garden. The clematis grows in USDA zones 4 to 8, and it grows to a mature height around 10 feet and spreads to a mature width around 3.5 feet. I'm shocked that this beautiful tropical looking flower can survive my cold winters of zone 5 and grow back so profusely in the spring. It blooms in May, June, and again in September. So if you pair it with another clematis that blooms in July and August, you'll have non-stop beautiful blooms climbing up your trellis. It is not deer or rabbit resistant, so try to protect it from deer and rabbits. Also note that clematis is not safe for cats and dogs to eat. Next up is the balloon flower. The variety I have is called Astra Blue. It has large, vibrant purple blooms that stand out across my garden. It blooms non-stop from June all the way to August. It attracts beneficial pollinators like bees and butterflies, but please note you will need to protect these from deer and rabbit eating them, and they're not safe for cats or dogs to eat. So you may want to plant any perennials that are not pet friendly in one section that your pets can't access. I don't have any pets, so I'm pretty flexible with what I can have in my garden. For more ideas for your own garden oasis, be sure to click subscribe. Moving on to number 18. This is the daylily. There are so many gorgeous varieties of daylilies. The two reblooming varieties that I have in my garden are Pink Damask and Rock Solid. I love how hardy daylilies are. They grow back stronger year after year. They are called daylilies because each bloom only lasts one day, but the good news is that each plant has multiple stalks, so one or more will bloom the very next day. Be sure to check the tag to make sure you are buying a reblooming variety so it can bloom from July all the way to September for you. It attracts butterflies and bees and is drought tolerant, so you don't need to water it as often as your other garden flowers. Please note you do need to protect it from deer and rabbits if deer and rabbit come to your garden, and daylilies are not safe for your pets to eat. For pretty much all the plants in my list, I do recommend deadheading spent blooms occasionally to promote continuous blooming and for a tidier appearance. At number 17 is the coneflower. The variety that I have is called Cheyenne Spirit, which is a very unique and exciting flower to have in the garden because there are so many different colors of coneflower growing from one single plant. The coneflower is a reliable, long-blooming perennial that attracts bees, butterflies, birds, and blooms from June all the way to October. It is also deer-resistant, rabbit-resistant, safe for your pets, and also drought tolerant. That is why it is one of the most popular low maintenance perennial plants. At number 16 is the peony. The one I have is an Itoh Peony called Pastel Lilas. It is a hybrid of tree peonies and garden peonies and inherits the best of both worlds because it has strong stems and very large, longer blooming flowers like tree peonies, but are easy to grow like garden peonies. They bloom from late spring to early summer. They are deer resistant, rabbit resistant, and attract pollinators. Please note they are not safe for your pets to eat. Stick around to the end of this list for my number 1 favorite perennial plus 2 bonus plants. At number 15, we have Shasta Daisy. One variety I have in my garden is called Sweet Daisy Jane. It has a compact growth habit, making it ideal for smaller gardens and containers, and is an adorable mini version of the taller Shasta daisies. It looks so cute with its neat small petals and big yellow centers. It looks like a cartoon daisy growing in Minnie Mouse's garden. It blooms from June to August. It attracts pollinators like bees and butterflies. It is drought tolerant. It is safe for cats and dogs to eat. Please note you do need to protect it from deer and rabbits. At number 14, we have the Dark Beauty Alpine Aster. This flower is so eye-catching with such a beautiful combination of vibrant purple petals and bright yellow centers. It blooms from May to July. It is safe for cats and dogs to eat. It attracts bees and butterflies. It is drought tolerant and even deer and rabbit resistant. At number 13, we have the Creeping Jenny. This has bright fluorescent green trailing leaves that create the perfect accent in containers. I have them in containers on my front porch and in containers on my driveway. It looks great with any flower combination. It grows from June all the way to August. I would suggest protecting it from deer and rabbits if you're growing it on the ground as a ground cover. It is safe for cats and dogs to eat, and it attracts pollinators like bees. At number 12, we have the Bellflower. The one that I have is the Tachyon Blue Peach Leaf Bellflower. I just love its bright, translucent purple blooms that glow in the sunlight. It blooms from May to August. It is safe for pets to eat. It attracts bees and butterflies and birds. It is drought tolerant, and on top of that, it is deer resistant. I do recommend protecting it from rabbits because the rabbit in my backyard did munch on my bellflowers this spring. Number 11 is the English Lavender. This is my second most favorite perennial in my entire garden. Stick around to the end to discover my number one favorite. So lavender has such an amazing, intoxicating scent and is very long blooming. Every single day from June to August, I go out to my garden and I pinch a piece of lavender and rub it between my fingers and relish its beautiful calming scent. You can use homegrown lavender for so many things, including recipes, fragrance, home decor, relaxation, and healing. I'm going to explore some of these options this summer. It attracts pollinators, it is resistant to deer and rabbit, but please note it is not safe for cats and dogs to eat. So that covers the perennials that love the heat and sun. Now I'm going to talk about plants that can grow in full sun to part shade. For example, half the day they're in sun and the other half of the day they're in shade. At number 10 is the Asiatic Lily. The bulbs that I planted in early spring were from a bag that were called the Sensual Blend. So it had a variety of gorgeous pink and dark red lily bulbs. The bulbs are very hardy and reliable and multiply, so if you plant one bulb this year, then next year you'll get maybe 2 or 3 plants growing from that bulb. It blooms from mid to late summer. It attracts pollinators including bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. You will need to protect it from deer and rabbits, and it's not safe for cats or dogs to eat. At number 9 is the Oriental Lily. This is another gorgeous tropical looking flower that I can't believe grows year after year and multiplies in my cold zone 5. The stunning one I have in my garden is called the Stargazer Lily. I especially love this flower because my best friend chose it for her wedding bouquet many years ago, and now it's growing in my garden. At number 8, we have Tulips. The 2 varieties I planted are Pink Sound and Angelique. Pink Sound is bright pink, and Angelique is multi-petaled and resembles a beautiful peony. I love pink tulips because they're less common than red and yellow kinds, and tulips are one of the first flowers to bloom in the spring, signaling the end of the very long winter period. My varieties bloom in late spring, And you can pick up some tulips that bloom in early spring, some in mid-spring, and some in late spring, so you can have a longer bloom period of beautiful tulips in your garden. Tulips attract pollinators. You will need to protect it from deer and rabbit. It is not safe for cats and dogs to eat it. Also, it's a good idea to deadhead spent blooms, but keep the leaves intact to redirect the energy to the bulb for the next year. Please note, tulips are not the most reliable when it comes to reblooming the following spring. Less than half of my tulips grow back the following year, and some get eaten by rabbits. So a lot of people like to replant more tulip bulbs every fall to replenish their supply. At number 7, we have the Dalmatian iris. This is one of my favorite perennials because not only is it beautiful when it blooms, but it's also gorgeous when it's not in bloom. The blue and white sword-shaped leaves are so striking, and they look fantastic both in my garden and in my containers on my front porch. They bloom delicate orchid-like purple flowers in May and June. They attract bees and butterflies, and they are drought-tolerant, making them very low maintenance in the garden. They are resistant to rabbit and deer, but they're not safe for cats or dogs to eat. At number 6, I have the double play candy corn Spirea. This perennial is amazing. New leaves emerge bright red, and then they transition to orange and then yellow and eventually light green. So you will have this multicolored display from one bush. And this striking display continues from spring all the way to fall. And on top of that, it grows pretty pink flowers from late spring to early summer. You do need to protect this from deer and rabbit. This is safe for cats and dogs and attracts bees and butterflies, and is also drought tolerant. At number 5, we have Sparkling Stars Masterwort. It has unique star-like flowers that add texture and interest to your garden. It blooms from late spring all the way to early fall. It is rabbit and deer resistant, safe for cats and dogs, and attracts pollinators. And now let's get into plants that grow in part sun to full shade. At number 4, we have the Hosta, which is a very popular perennial that grows very well in the shade, where very few other plants grow. There are hundreds of varieties of hostas, and my favorite is the Patriot Hosta. It has striking leaves with white borders and stunning purple flowers that bloom in midsummer. The Patriot Hosta was awarded Hosta of the Year. It attracts pollinators. You may want to protect it from deer because I hear deer love to eat hostas, and also protect it from rabbits. Please note, it is not safe for cats or dogs to eat. At number 3, we have another full shade plant called Astilbe, and the variety I have is called Visions in Red. The deep pinkish red plume-like flowers add a dramatic touch to my shaded spots. It blooms from mid to late summer. It attracts pollinators. It is deer and rabbit resistant and safe for cats and dogs. Coming in at number 2 in the shady area is Ostrich Fern. It is elegant and arching and gives a relaxing tropical vibe to my garden. It is deer and rabbit resistant and safe for cats and dogs. And my number 1 favorite perennial plant of all is the Gold Heart Bleeding Heart. It is my favorite perennial because it is the very first plant to grow in my garden in the spring, even earlier than my tulips. Its leaves are so neon bright and eye-catching and look fantastic on both sides of my bright red Japanese maple. And the flowers that grow on it are just unreal. They look like plastic heart-shaped toys dangling from every branch. They attract pollinators and are deer and rabbit resistant, but they're not safe for cats or dogs to ingest. And there you have it, my top 20 most beautiful perennial flowers. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and share with your friends. And now for the 2 bonus plants. Did you know that the ever-popular hydrangea and the rose are also perennials? They fall into a subcategory of perennials called flowering shrubs, so that is why when you research perennials, they never come up in the list. Since there is so much to say about these amazing flowering shrubs, I've created separate videos on them in my playlist right here, and we'll be adding many more, so be sure to subscribe. Thank you and happy gardening.